Hi, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat. I'm Karen Scott Green,
And I'm Kat Hardrick.
and we are joined today by Ranger Sherrie Barnes. So, Sherrie, I think you must be West Indian. She's a park ranger, an attorney, a licensed esthetician, a business owner of Divine Nourishment Natural Skincare. She's a tennis coach, an author, and a photographer. Was that 10 jobs? You got 10 jobs? So we ran into Sister Sherrie a few weeks ago in Lithonia. She was giving away plants and talking about some programs that she's involved with. And we're like, oh, that's really interesting. We wanted to have her on to just talk about some of the things she's doing with her 10 different jobs.
Yep.
So, Sherrie, first off, um, I see that you went to law school in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a native Floridian. I went to St. Thomas University, which is now Ben Crump Law School.
I went to school with Ben Crump.
I saw that. I
Oh.
saw that. Yep, you went to school with them. Now I attended a law school many years ago that now bears his name.
I saw
Um,
that.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, and I see that you spent some time in Florida as well, and now you're back here in Georgia teaching people about plants and how plants can help clean the environment, clean their home. Because when we met you, you actually had given you were giving out plants, and you were telling us about all the medicinal and useful qualities of the different plants that you had in front of you.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about, how you got into horticulture.
Horticulture. Okay. My father was a master gardener. He passed away last year on Mother's Day. He had a garden for 46 years, and he gave a lot to the community. He was honored by Natalie Archibald
Hmm.
um, at his funeral. And I used to take him to see John Lewis all the time. And he used to debate with John Lewis quite a bit. Um, so I learned gardening from him, 46 years. So when he passed, life was just kind of all the way up and down. I had applied to teach tennis
Yeah.
again. Tennis. I've been playing since I was 8. Um, and the cab kind of gave me the runaround. They wouldn't call me, and Sugar Creek is where I grew up playing tennis. Sugar Creek Tennis and Golf
Okay.
Center. And so one day I got a call, and I answered, and it was Jennifer McLaurin. She's a park naturalist out at Rock Chapel Park 2 where I work. And I told her I just applied to teach tennis, not to be a park ranger. And she said, "Come out and see." And I came out, and the field in the back looked just like my parents' backyard.
Really?
So
Wow.
it was a sign that I was supposed to be there for a while. So I'm in charge of a 40 raised bed garden, a state of the art greenhouse, and I am a beekeeper. I became a beekeeper out there also. We charm bees and never got stung, thank goodness.
That's right. 'Cause I was able to sample your honey, and it was very light. You had two different types of honey. One was dark and one was lighter. And the lighter one I actually preferred because it actually had even though it was light in color, it actually had a lighter flavor. And you were
Yes,
telling me about the bees and about the honey, and that and that the very soon they'll be marketing or giving them away or marketing
um,
them.
we were able to harvest 79 2-ounce bottles of honey.
Okay.
So we don't have the capacity at this point to sell anything. So mostly
Okay.
we give it away. So yeah.
Okay. So
You know,
how does one go? I'm sorry, Kat.
go ahead, stay on that.
How does one go from being an attorney
hmm
to becoming an author, a life coach, and a park ranger? I love the fact that you are not in one box and that
Mm-mm.
you have followed different passions. So tell us about that.
Okay. Was practicing law in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was a juvenile supervisor of the conflict counsel, regional counsel's office.
Okay.
And my dad got sick. He had been sick some years, and my mom asked me to come home. So came home. When I got there, she got cancer. So
Mm,
I ended up taking care of both of my parents for 9 years.
mm.
Um, and with we're gonna be just real with little help from my siblings. So um,
Unfortunately, that's how it is
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Unfortunately. Yeah,
Unfortunately.
but we have to say the truth. That's what we do on this
Yeah.
show. You're
what
right.
it
Call it what
is.
it is.
Yeah. So maybe about 7 years into the journey, I've always done skincare. I've always liked to make things with my hands. I make jewelry. I design wine bottles. You name it. So
Hmm.
I got the opportunity to. I got a scholarship to Beaver Beauty Academy on
Okay.
County Road in Decatur, Georgia, right up the street where I grew up from. And so I attended there and got my beauty license. And the reason why I got my esthetician's license because I had skincare products, and I
Mm-hmm.
was able to say, I'm a licensed esthetician now, and
Okay.
give more credence. So that happened. A few more years, a couple years went by. Daddy got put in the hospice. We sold the house. Um, I moved out the house myself. We
Hmm.
had a 3-story house, 46 years, 2 acres of land. Yeah. And
Mm.
uh, so after that, um, you know, we went through the hospice journey about 7 months at my sister's house in Stone Mountain. And when he passed on Mother's Day last year, there's a wonderful story. I remember on Mother's Day, I was at Walmart because I said, you know what, I'm gonna make me a garden. Daddy's about to go, make me a garden. And I said, it'd be funny if he passed away today because his mom passed away Mother's Day, 1987.
Wow.
Mm.
Yes. So when I found out, I said, you know what? She said, no more birthdays without my baby boy.
Hmm.
You know,
Mm.
called him home.
Mm.
Mm.
I was just all over the place. I had gotten a new apartment because I was staying with my sister while we were all in hospice. Well, it was in hospice. Um, Applied for a couple of jobs. Wasn't sure if I was gonna go back to Florida. We still have mom here. But my parents grew up in Fort Lauderdale. They met in high school, and so that's.
Oh, that's a sweet love
What
story.
high school? Because I'm from South Florida.
Dillard. Right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Dillard is historic.
they're a cult. I mean, those people go back to it's like a cult.
But
No,
you
she
know what it
didn't.
was? Dillard was one of the was I think at the time when it was founded was the only black high school in the county.
It
Oh,
was.
dang.
It
Yeah.
was.
So
And it
yeah,
was a Dillard elementary too, because they went to Dillard Elementary
Mm-hmm.
also.
yeah. So
Yes.
you said they're a cult.
They are. I mean, there's some diehard. Yeah. Well,
That's just love. That's just love.
I went to FAMU and we diehard too. So
Oh, okay.
it goes.
Fam, you.
Like I said, I applied to teach tennis. I wasn't working. I took some time off. I was working from home when
Okay.
I had my parents. I was working for a firm in Fort Lauderdale, doing personal injury.
And
So
they allowed you to work remotely.
yes, and it
Okay.
was a friend of mine who hired me when I came down to Fort Lauderdale, Samantha Vasiana, and I told her when I met her, I said, you don't look like you could be working here. You like to be your own boss. And she was like, girl, I got too many bills. I got too many bills to pay. So ultimately, what happened after she hired me? 2 months later, they fired her,
Oh,
and
wow.
she went out. But guess what? She went out on her own. She's on court TV now. She's doing her thing.
Hey,
She's doing all of
Mm.
it. So she hired me. We got together, and I didn't partner with her because I had partnered with a couple of people before, and I said, nah. So I was an independent contractor.
Of
Um,
council.
yes, of counsel, and um, mm, So, like I said, I applied to teach tennis, wasn't working. Got a little part-time gig doing uh, some work, and
Yeah.
so Jennifer called me, literally, and was like, hey, can you come out and see? And I was like, okay. And I came out, and it was everything I needed to do, everything I wanted to do, everything to rest my soul. I remember
Yes.
there was a time, one day when I first got there, it was kind of cold. It was like November, and Jennifer gave me a Bluetooth speaker. My
Mm-hmm.
daddy was a music connoisseur. He
Mhm.
loved the song Zoom by the Commodores and Heaven
Oh,
Like
yes.
This. So I was playing it, and then my ancestor spoke to me and said, "You remember, you thought we forgot about you.
Mm.
You had to watch your parents decline for 9 years. Now
Mm.
we give you a job, and all you do is watch stuff grow."
Mm.
Mm,
Can I just tell you? Can
God
I
is
just
so
share with
good.
you?
God is so good.
There is
mhm,
something healing and restorative
mhm.
in putting your hands in the
Yes,
soil.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So in 2020, I lost both of my parents 3 months behind each other.
Bless your
Mm.
heart. Bless your heart.
So
And
sorry to hear that.
if it had not been for the time, it was during COVID, they didn't pass from COVID.
Okay.
But if it had not been for COVID and the fact that I had to sit down and be
Mhm.
still,
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
I probably would have lost my mind. The
Yep.
Yep.
only thing that kept me sane, besides my faith, um,
Mhm.
is I took to gardening. I had
Wow.
plants all on my front porch and on my back deck in
Yeah.
containers. I just
Yes.
and I would make things. I would make, you know, I would make planters out of things that I had at my house, and so I
Right.
had
You
plants
come
all
creative.
plants all around my front porch. I was planting collards. I was planting in containers
Yes.
because
I love it.
I needed to see I needed to see life. I needed to see something grow. I wasn't
Mhm.
having no more babies. That season had
Mhm.
Ah,
passed.
you
Mhm.
sure? No.
I'm positive. So I took to container gardening because I had to see life.
Yes.
And when I was healthy enough, and I knew that I was healthy enough, not that I was over grieving, because I'm going to always be grieving to the day till I take my last breath.
Yes. Absolutely.
But when I was over the shock of
Yes.
it, and I
Mhm.
knew, okay, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I'm done with the need for the gardening, and I
Mhm.
literally took the things out of the planters and uprooted them because I was like, I'm I'm gonna be okay.
Yes.
But there was something just very healing about having my hands in that soil and
Mhm.
mixing the potting soil with the Georgia clay because I would mix it together to make my,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
Yeah.
there was something very just healing and
Therapeutic.
restorative and therapeutic. That was my
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if it hadn't been for COVID, I wouldn't have had the time to do that because before that, I was running, I was doing court appointed work in juvenile
Mm.
court. And
Oh
I was
boy.
running
We'll
around
talk
to
about this one day.
four different courts in four different counties.
Ooh. I did that
And
too. I did that too. Mhm.
so, yeah, because if you were conflict counsel, you were doing that.
Mhm.
So it just, and I'm, putting all this wear and tear on my car, on my mind, and on my body as I'm out and about all the time.
Because that's the
Um,
main wear and tear, not the car. It's
yes,
you. Go ahead.
it's my body. And
Mhm.
so
That's right.
that time that I just sat down and just had time to be still, read my
Mhm.
Bible, play in the dirt, that was
Yep.
my therapy. I tried grief
It's a
counseling.
good
They
thing.
they just that's a
It's
whole
part of
nother
the
You
good.
know, if I can add, if I can add, for me, Ranger, Sherrie, you don't know, but in the last 5 years, I've lost somebody since 2019, all the way up until October 16th of last year, my village.
The dying
And
season.
yes, I had lost my parents before I was 5. So these are the people who contributed to
Mm.
raising and nurturing me and my siblings. So
Mm.
this is my generation of people. It's like, you know, when you lose your parents, it's like for
Mm.
me, I've lost my parents over every year, right?
Mm.
Mm.
So I
Hard.
say this to say, putting your feet in the grass.
Mhm. Mhm.
Literally, me and my girlfriend was just talking about this. She's a veteran and survivor managing her PTSD too. And someone was
Mm.
sharing with her about being grounded. Not only we have grounding exercises, but being able to, if you can stand it, family, take your shoes and socks off and sit
Absolutely.
down and let your feet actually connect with nature.
Yes,
It is transformative.
it is.
Plant and put your hands in that. When it's hot outside, you dig your hand into some deep dirt. It's cool. It's
Mm.
not hot. But you won't
Mm-mm.
know that until you actually have to break the soil and become one. And it's
Mhm.
really and truly therapeutic. And I will say, out of all of the tragedy that life throws at us,
Yes. Yes.
when you're able to lean on God
Mhm.
and let what God has created, not just human beings, but everything around us. And when you're
Mhm.
able to do that, be in the sun, you know,
Mhm.
get that vitamin D, get that
Mhm.
water. Like water and fire for me are my like Zen things. So if I can ever get next to a waterfall, and Georgia has a ton of natural waterfalls,
I
hear that.
love Amicola. I think it's
Yeah.
Amicola.
Amacola. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. That's
What
beautiful.
you say? Say it again.
Go ahead, attorney. I think you said it better than me.
Amacola. And it's up
Amaco.
north. And
What
then there's
part?
also hot it's I think it's Amacola State
Park.
Park or
It's a
um
staple. Mhm.
yeah, it's a state park. And then also just south of us is High Point.
Okay.
Um High Point State Park, which is
Yeah.
it's before you get to Macon.
Okay.
And
Yes, so it's a bunch of nice
yes.
waterfalls right here in the state of Georgia. And I'm sure you can look at, if you're in Georgia or wherever you live, check that out. One of the things I want to circle back to with not only being grounded, the community that you need.
Mm.
So, Ranger, Sherrie, and Karen, I know y'all actually cared for your parents transitioning. And we are not prepared to be that licensed professional caregiver. However, we are thrusted into those positions
Mhm.
because we may not have the money, we may not have the resources, or maybe it's a choice that we've chosen to make to step up to that and do it. So, from both of you, and I'll let Ranger Sherrie, because I wasn't there in that process. My cousins and stuff was with their family. They're my mom and dad's, but they're the primary.
Mhm.
What explain that process and share, Ranger Sherrie, you said it was 9 years for you.
Mhm.
Can you give some tips to our listeners who may be going through this right now? Because this is an everyday crisis now, and we need to start talking about this so we can address it and maybe get legislation made so that we can have caregiver insurance or benefits or something, because the everyday person is turning into a caregiver. I'll
Yeah.
let you respond.
Oh wow, that's heavy. That's a heavy question. Um, I think first things first, the caregiver has to have patience. I learned a lot of patience when I was dealing with my parents. And you
Mm.
get to see your parents as people, not
Yes.
just mom and dad. You know, you get to see them on a whole nother level. Um, and you see the good and you see the not so good, and you understand that your parents are humans.
Yes.
Um, and I also dealt with a lot of, I can't tell you what it was from. A lot of, sometimes some of the, medical manipulation, you
Okay.
know, or health manipulation,
Uh-huh.
like for their behavior. Because
Hmm.
once you get sick, anything goes. If they're sick, you're right there. No matter what. And then understanding that they're scared.
Hmm.
Mhm. They're older. They can't do,
Yeah.
like my dad was not the man. He was always a very alpha male. He was the worshipful master of the Prince Hall Lodge here in Atlanta.
That's
Right.
hard.
Yeah, and for him to have to be taken care of. You
Got
know,
it.
he passed on when we had a conversation because he kept trying to go up to the bathroom and he couldn't do it on his own. And I said, Dad, you can't do it. And he was like, well, shit, if I can't shit for myself, I might as well just check out. And he did.
Mm.
He did
No,
about
he didn't say that, girl.
yeah, and 2 weeks later he was gone.
Oh,
Yeah. So I would just say prepare for a lot of different things you're gonna learn. You're gonna see so many things, but you're gonna be grateful for the journey. It's a blessing. I'm not gonna say it's a curse. It's a blessing. But there were some hard times, when you just wonder how is it gonna end? When is it gonna end? And not that you want it to end, you don't. But when you're there every day with
yeah,
not a lot of help, it wears on you, you
yes.
know. And I'm just glad I was there during the journey.
Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely.
Was there Yes. Were there any other like organizations? I don't know what your parents had, but like Alzheimer's, dementia, because I understand that's like the longest goodbye. When you're caring for
Mhm.
someone, that's the longest goodbye, and it takes it's a decline. Watching your loved ones' health decline, where they forget how to speak or their
Mhm.
bodily function started shutting down and all of
Mhm.
that. And were there any organizations that you were able to lean on? Because I know, like for cancer, when my brother transitioned with cancer, there were organizations that you can kind of talk to go through that. Is there anything like that when we're caring for our aging parents?
There are a lot of organizations. I just be honest, at this point, I can't really remember.
Gotcha.
All of it is kind of a blur. My
Mhm.
dad was, he retired from the federal government as an accountant. So he had great benefits. So it wasn't like we had to go searching for that. But I know there are a lot of programs out there because dementia is big. My dad was moderately had dementia, you
Okay.
know, and then sometimes I wonder, was he playing dementia or was
Oh,
it, because hey, so, and it's all that, but you learn how to laugh about it. I'm
Okay.
serious. Can't cry about that stuff. You got to say, I think Dad was playing me today. You laugh about it. So there are organizations, but I can't say that I could just tell you off the bat.
Okay.
right,
Were
right.
you
But
were you part of the Georgia Family Structured Caregiver Program, where you're paid to take care of your loved one?
No,
Okay.
I didn't. Um, and I did hear about that you could do that. Like I said, I was kind of financially sound,
Okay.
so I really didn't go for that. But in retrospect, I probably should have, you know.
okay.
Um, but
And so for those for folks who are listening, who are taking care of loved ones, and if you live in the state of Georgia, you can go to DCH. That's Delta
Char-
Cat Delta Cat Happy, dch.georgia.gov. And there is a fact sheet from the Georgia Department of Community Health that talks about the Structured Family Caregiver Program, where you could, to see if you're eligible, if your family member is eligible, where you could be paid, receive a stipend for taking care of a loved one. Because, we've always done that in our community.
yeah,
We typically didn't have long-term care insurance, and we typically didn't have the money to be able to put our loved ones in nursing homes. So we
yeah.
kept the loved ones
We ain't have short term disability. I'm sorry.
that
but
too.
and then too, the stigma in our community, you don't put your folks in a home.
Yes,
You know, you
that
just don't
that
do
was
that.
gonna be the last part of it.
Well, that's the
Um,
ancestry, right? We always kept you stayed right here in that village. Nobody
yes,
took care of you. You took care of your parents, and they transitioned right where they are with
Right.
with 100 great grands and everybody around you. That's how that goes.
Yep.
yes. That's what ended up happening with both of my parents.
Oh
Mm.
yeah. Did you want
My
to talk about that? Can you are right to talk
so
about it?
yeah, I'm good.
Good.
My dad had vascular dementia.
Hmm.
So he slowly slipped away from us over probably that last 5 years. Within the last year is when it really, when he started like not. knowing who someone was. It wasn't every day. It was some days.
Right.
And he was down in Florida. My parents lived in Florida. I live in Snellville, not so in Georgia. But my sister and my brother were down there. I would come home every couple of months, but my sister and my brother were doing the day-to-day things like taking them to the doctor and that sort of thing. And I would come home, but my dad had gone into the hospital. He was in the hospital for several weeks, and he started talking about wanting to see his mother, my grandmother, who had passed on. So we knew, you
His
know, that he was transitioning. And so we just asked, can you wait till you get home?
right,
Can you
Mm-hmm.
wait till you get
right,
home? And he
right.
did. He came home on a Friday
Mm-hmm.
afternoon. I was supposed to come down that next weekend,
Mm-hmm.
but he came home that Friday. Hospice came to the house to see him and everything. And the hospice doctor was like, oh, because he had his rally that Friday. You know, the rally before they passed. He had his rally that
Mm-hmm.
Friday when he came home. And the hospice doctor was like, oh, I fully expect him to be released from hospice in 6 months. He's good. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And I talked to him on the phone that Friday, and I was like, "Oh, Daddy, I'm going to be down there next Friday. I'm going to see," because I had just been home the weekend prior to that,
Okay.
and coming back that
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks later, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, we got a picture of him. His face was full and everything.
Ooh, girl, ooh, you just
Like
brought back some chills. Ooh.
he'd fleshed out. Like, see, before that, when he's in the hospital, he looked all gaunt. That
Mm-hmm.
Friday, his face was full because I got a picture. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that Saturday, he declined. He
Mm.
went back to, not talking, where he'd been having, he had a conversation with me that Friday. That
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, he wasn't talking as much. Like, he was just kind of, responding or whatever. And that Sunday morning, he asked my mother um, for a sip of Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
So she
Mm.
went and got him a sip of Coca-Cola. He drank his Coca-Cola. She went to go answer the door because the nurse was coming, because we had hired a nurse, and she was coming for the first day. And she came to the house. My mother went to the door to let her in. They walked back into the bedroom, and my mom and the nurse were standing at the foot of the bed talking. The nurse looks over and said, "I don't think he's breathing." He's gone.
Mm.
He was gone. He was
Mm.
gone.
Wow.
Mm.
And he waited for my mom to leave the room,
Yep.
Mm.
and he was
Yep.
gone. And
Mm-hmm.
he was in his own house.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, when she 3 months later, she had cancer. We didn't know it. And then she had fallen like on a Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
I was like, I need to go check on my mom, because she
Right.
had fallen
Right.
and tried to like minimize it, and she just said she was trying to get down to pray and she couldn't get back up.
Okay.
Somebody had to go into the house, like get into the house to
Mm.
get her up. So
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
that was a Wednesday. That Thursday morning, I canceled all of my court,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
all of it. I was like, I'm going down to Florida. I don't know how long I'm going to be there. I got to go check on my mama.
Right.
That's right.
And I canceled everything. And I got down that Thursday. We put her in the hospital on Saturday night. That
Mm-hmm.
Sunday morning, which was Mother's Day,
Mm.
Mm.
Sunday morning, Mother's Day, 2020, we found out she had cancer and it had spread. She stayed in
Mm.
the hospital up to that Saturday, that following Saturday. We did Mother's Day. We had our Mother's Day a week later, that Saturday, with her. I was
Mm-hmm.
Good.
there. My oldest son was there. My my sister, my brother, my niece,
Mm.
and my niece's kids. So every child that had been raised
Mm-hmm.
in that house
Mm-hmm.
was there with
Hey.
her
Wow.
that Saturday. So we had Mother's Day with her. Now, I live out of town. I live out of state. My oldest son lives out of state here in Georgia. My niece and her children, they live in Port St. Lucie, which is like 2.5 hours away.
I have a
Mm-hmm.
very good friend there.
They decided that they were going to stay down the night at my sister's house, which is my niece's mom.
Okay.
Mhm.
And we were going to do, because everything was virtual. So we were going to do virtual church that Sunday morning. When I got up that Sunday morning to check on her,
Mm-hmm.
I heard the rattle.
Mm,
Oh.
So I knew.
Mm.
yeah.
And
Yes.
my sister then was going to come over anyway. So I just said, hey, I didn't tell them that she was
Right.
transitioning.
Right.
I said, hey, can you guys come over? I need a thermometer. I'm trying to check mom's temperature so I can give her insulin. I can't get a reading on her. So they came over. And then when they came into the room, they heard the rattle. And
Mm,
my sister
Mm.
just looked at me and I said, yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And so we were with her that entire day because she didn't pass until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But it was sad and beautiful at the same time. We were there when
Mhm.
she took her last breath. And
Yes. Yes.
Shannon and Kat, I've never experienced anything like that. And I
No.
probably never will. I don't know. But
Right.
we ushered her into heaven. Like our, because
Mm.
after we realized what was happening, we called her pastor, we called our cousin. So people came down. We loved on her that day. We sang to her. She
Mm.
was prayed over. It was beautiful. It was sad. I was an emotional
Mm.
wreck afterwards, but it was beautiful to
Of
know
course.
that every child that she had raised and helped raise in that home was there with her when
Yes,
she
sir.
took her last breath. And I know, even though her eyes were closed, she did not wake up. I know she knew that we were
Absolutely.
there. I knew she knew we were there.
Amen. Yes, she did. Yes, she
And
did.
yeah, I'll,
It,
I, until I take my last breath, I will always have that memory of us all being there and the love that was in that room.
And
amen.
if I may, bless your heart. When I say bless your heart, because I was fortunate enough, I wasn't there when my dad passed. Not the moment. I was
Hmm.
there minutes after. But we decided maybe about 2 weeks before he passed, 2, 3 weeks, we had give Gene his flowers day. So
Mm.
we everybody came, and my
Mm.
you know who house we were staying in, she dressed him up so nice. He was so dapper,
He was
and
clean, but he
he
was
was,
clean, girl.
he was clean. And co-workers, everybody we knew loved him and showed love.
Came to
They
love on him.
they loved on him, and his stepmother and sisters from Maryland. They didn't come down then, but they came down like a week later. His brothers from California, just everybody. And then I remember, after everybody left, I was taking him back because we had to wheel him back to his chair, and he just got weak. Like
Mm.
I couldn't get him. He fell, not fell. I couldn't lift him into the thing. And I had a couple cousins there who helped out. But the thing about it is, that's a testament of your mother and father's and my father's legacy to the world, that people would come and do that. And how blessed to have been raised by them.
Yes. Oh,
Amen.
I say it all the time. I just, you
Yes.
know, I quote my mother all the time. She was a strong woman. I loved my daddy. My sister and I were daddy girls, and he thought the world of us, and we thought the world of him. And my mother,
Hmm.
I can't say enough good things about her. I am the woman I am because of her. And
Me too.
child, this show done went a whole different direction. And I love it because this is what Conversations with Karen and Kat is all about. Like, we have organic conversation
Love it.
About life things because
about life things.
you know, and I can share my story, but I really hope that everyone who watches this show takes a moment to reflect on not only life but preparation for the transition.
Yes.
Far too often, like we said earlier, we don't have life insurance, long-term insurance, short-term insurance, and grace of God, you guys had resources, whether it was a collective with family members all pouring in, or your parents having great pensions or retirement accounts or what have you. And but no one wants to talk about it. If I can get up right now, I will go get this book that I have. I want everybody to go look for this book. It's called I'm Dead, Now What?
Mm.
I'm Dead,
Too.
Now What?
And lawyer.
Say it again, Queen.
Yeah. Excuse me. I was just saying I did probate and trust law, and man, I got some stuff. Yeah, that's deep.
Yes. And so we got two attorneys on this video right now. My girl Karen, my girl Ranger Sherrie, and there are a host of great attorneys out there as well that can get y'all set up. I know we dropping some heavy on y'all right now, but when I say to you that this is important, I'm dead now. What you
Is
can
this what it
go?
looks like, sis? From
You can go.
Amazon?
Look, let me grab my
Ah,
glass. Look,
put on them pretty
that's not
glasses.
the one I have. Look at me trying to pull it up. Does it say I'm dead now? What? Yeah,
Yes.
mine is
It's a
blue.
planner and journal.
Yeah, negative. Nope. Mine
Okay.
is actually um um I wish I could go get it. It's blue. It's a blue hardback. Look for it again, sis. It says I'm dead now. What? I got it from like Barnes and Nobles or one of the bookstores, Books a Million or something. And what it does is it literally says who are the people you need to call, what are your passwords, where are your bank accounts, where are your that looks like, yeah, bam, that's it, family.
So
And
they
it,
have different covers.
oh, is that the same thing? Because it's not
Yeah.
a journal. When you say a journal, that's what threw me off.
Okay.
But that's cool. So, but that's the one that I have. So look at any one that fits your needs, and it helps you write down who you owe. What's your plan? What would you like to happen? Um, who's your emergency contacts, and
Yeah.
what are your dreams? Like, how would you want to transition? You want to be cremated? You want to go in a cemetery? You want to go to a military cemetery in Arlington? Like, what is it that you want
Yeah.
your family to know? And only key people know where this document is. So then this can help you. Now, I would love for you to take this document and go get with a probate or an attorney to develop a trust and whatnot, so you guys can be well informed. Because at the end of the day, all of us that's on this show right now, me, my girls, these queens right here that I'm with, all have had to deal with situations for our loved ones.
Yep.
But had we had a book of what their vision, like, we know some things, like mama always said keep the pearls, and daddy said he always wanted this and that. We got it, right? But let's call it what it is. We keep it real. We know we got some families that fight over stuff, girl. This
Yes.
piece of tissue belonged to me. No, I want it. No, I want it. We're not
Girl,
doing that.
whole nother show.
Okay. Facts.
Can
Facts.
I?
So,
My siblings and I didn't fight over one
Hard.
thing,
amen.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't either. We didn't either.
but
Like,
I know families who do.
Well, we
right.
didn't fight.
And
Siblings didn't fight either. Um, but some things were taken without everybody else knowing. You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying?
facts, that part. And that's still like grimy. You know what I'm saying? And also when we got to talk about who's going to take care of what. When my brother was transitioning, he stayed with me when he got cancer. He literally lived 6 months. And I still was working. I got kids. I was going to school, and everybody else was living out of town. So it's a lot on one person. But if you have stuff in place, or guess what? What if you have a stroke, or you are unable to speak for yourself, and you got 4 people? 2 people want you to pull the plug, and the other 2 people say no, keep her alive.
You
You
better
don't
put
have
them
nothing
things
in
in
pay. You don't have
writing.
any paperwork. You don't have
That's
no paper.
I will say this. The advance directive is
Yep.
definitely you definitely, if you don't do anything else. But I love that book idea, because one thing I know about us as a community, we don't like to tell people what we got. We don't like to disclose. Because I have an
Yeah.
aunt kind of wealthy, and she's like, "Y'all just get the money after. Y'all just get it when after I die." She said that's really how she feels. Like, I'm
That's
not
what
gonna tell
But how we
that,
gonna get it? But how we gonna get it? You think somebody's just gonna say, "Here, she dead"? That's what she want to have to do. That's gonna go in probate, and it's gonna stay tied up for
you.
decades. So
Yeah.
what's the proper term? What's the proper term people need to look for, sis?
what do you mean?
You said something about to prepare yourself for like a medical issue. You just said the word, Dr. Ranger.
Advanced directive.
Y'all heard it, advanced directives. I mean, because a lot of times people, we don't know what we don't know. We know we need to set up something, but we don't know what avenue to go down. So we
And
have some key words to get people to look this stuff up, then that's important to me.
and if you can't afford an attorney, there are a lot of doctor offices that have them. Your
Hmm.
primary care doctor may have them at their office. So a lot of them do it, and they can have someone there in the office to witness you doing it, because those don't have to be notarized.
Yep.
So you don't have to. It's if you have children, if you have a home, if you have bank accounts, it is best that you go sit down with an attorney so that you can actually do estate planning.
Hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have that, at least have those things like the advanced healthcare directive. Um, you know, but if you've got more than that, then you certainly need to be sitting down talking to an attorney. And a lot of us who work, you may actually be paying for legal insurance that you're not using, and a
Fact,
basic will is covered under a lot of legal plans.
That's a great.
facts. And please make sure y'all get a real will. I've been told by attorneys that when you go to these little something.coms, that is not going to protect you. It's not. So please make sure y'all save the money and
Yeah.
get with like these sisters that's on here. Get a real attorney that's going to tell you the facts, and you will literally be protected by the law because every state is different.
I was
Yep.
just about to say that. And
I'm
that's
with
the
you.
thing about when you go to an online format, is that it could be someone who is a barred attorney, it may or may not be, or they just could be like a paralegal who's entering in the information that you provided. So
Yep.
you don't know. And you might be getting a very generic product when you need something that's much more specific and tailored to your circumstance.
Yeah. That can be said better. I know we over time, but I did want to plug one
Hey,
thing.
this is Karen and Kat. Conversations with Karen and Kat. There is no time. We the
Okay.
time.
Um, since we were pulling books, I just published a book, and it's in the Black Dot. It's called My Conversations with the Devil at the Crossroads.
Mm,
Ooh.
It's a series of short stories and poetry, different topics, detailing my divorce, the business breakup with my partner, just life in general, and even the journey with my parents. So, we talk about politics, but the very first chapter, which started my healing journey, was self-reflection
It was my
and
conversations with the devil. What?
at the crossroads.
At the crossroads.
With self-reflection, and I embellished the book by there's a picture of a mirror, and I actually went and got a acrylic mirror and put it on there. And so when you look at the first chapter, you're looking at yourself, because to me that's where you start. And so I go from romance, heartbreak, that's it. Yep, that's it. Overcoming to the crossroads. So I'm very proud of
wow.
it. Back in like
So
Nice.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Tell us where we can buy it so you get 100% of the proceeds. No, no shade on somebody else, but how we buy this to give you 100% of the proceeds.
um you can buy it from me. I absolutely have copies, and I embellish all my copies. So there's 3 chapters with embellishments. The first one is the mirror, the real mirror. Then there's chapter, can't remember the chapter. It's called um, Broken and Other Matters of the Heart. So I have a real band-aid over a broken heart. And then I have Smelling the Roses. And I have a picture of a bee smelling roses. So I found a scratches
Mm.
from back in the day. So you
Oh,
scratch.
get out.
Yeah.
That's
So
cute. So what's your website where we get it?
um, right now I'm working on that, and
Okay.
I wasn't even gonna mention it, but yes, I'm definitely getting a website.
Oh,
I haven't really put it out there. This is the first time I really have. So because I have a theatrical adaptation. to the book.
Okay.
Oh,
Woman show.
Yeah.
It has voice changes and special effects, and it's like a Wizard of Oz journey. So it's
mm,
Wow.
my little Sherry Berry and me. And we're going through life, and boy, it gets rough. So it's a and
But
life
God is
does.
God is so good though. You have overcome.
There you
Okay.
go.
Still
yeah,
here, beautiful and
yeah,
all. So maybe
yeah.
some people can email you. Is that okay? Because I want people to know how they can get with this book and be empowered.
Okay. My email is Sherrie J Barnes. That is SherrieJ Barnes BARNES @gmail.com. And if you reach out to me, I will definitely hook you up with the book with the embellishments in it.
Yes.
And the
That
theatrical adaptation will be it's on Spotify, Apple Music right now, and we're trying to get it on another site called Even. And when that happens, I'm gonna set the book date and listening party release date.
nice. Please invite us.
Of course,
Please invite us.
of
And so
course.
that is Sherrie J Barnes at
Yes.
gmail.com. And you can either get the book directly from her or you can go on amazon.com. My Conversations with the Devil at the Crossroads.
I'm also Sherry Ranger Sherry B, like the BEE,
Mhm.
on Instagram and TikTok. So you can also reach me that way.
That is Ranger Sherry B.
B as in like BEE. Yes,
Ah, and that's on IG.
and TikTok.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
going to have to follow you.
I
Oh,
love it. Yes. We're
I
gonna
love
follow
that.
you.
oh yeah, I'm walking.
Yes. And make sure you subscribe to with Karen the Cat.
I
Where
will
you
soon.
walking to?
I'm sorry. I was just getting a little antsy.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
So
back.
No,
Ranger
you're good.
Sherry B, BEE, is on IG and TikTok. So make sure you follow her.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I love it. Ranger Sherry,
Hmm.
Miss
This is
Barnes,
awesome. It's
attorney and
powerful.
author. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for having me.
I have really enjoyed this conversation. Did
Yes,
not
I have.
know we would get into death and healing. But again, that is what Conversations with Karen and Kat does. Like we go where the conversation leads us.
It's been an awesome experience. I say. Mm.
Ah, yes. Thank you. Thank you. As always, I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Very welcome.
Well, we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.
Yep.